Well, welcome back, everybody, to the season finale of the BCC Recap. My name's Evan.
I'm Andrew.
And we are so glad that you've joined us back on the BCC Pod. This is where we take what's happening in our church and what we're learning together and bring it into unscripted conversations that dive a little bit deeper. Whether you're tuning in on your drive, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we're so glad you're here. This week, we're continuing on in our conversations around worship, and we're joined very fittingly by Laura Huh, the pastor of Creative Arts here at Bethany. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, everyone.
So you were also the speaker this past weekend, along with some pretty incredible stories that we got to hear as a church. So why don't we start with kind of what was your main kind of takeaway for people coming out of this weekend and as you closed out the series?
Yeah, so I didn't have an official challenge, which is,
I guess Ryan Vandekamp kind of stole it from you.
Yeah, so I didn't give an official one, but I think if I could have given one for this particular week and for the whole thing in general, it would really be to just engage with worship and wherever you're at. And like we called it, and I'm not going to get this right, all the time, in lots of places.
Every breath, every moment, everywhere. I think it's probably
every
what
breath.
it was. But I mean, that's
Every moment, every space?
Every space.
Place?
Just that our lives would be fully lived in worship, and then that aspect of communal worship being something that we would choose to engage in, and just taking right out of Hebrews 10, that we would not give up meeting together, but continue to do so that we could worship and spur each other on to love and good deeds.
I love that. It's funny. Normally, I get on Andrew's case for not saying series titles,
I know.
right?
That's not like me.
I kind of wish it was like a welcome to our new series, everything, time, and location. We kind of got the opportunity to hear from some people in the congregation, some testimonies or stories about how worship has impacted people that are involved in the creative arts community. For people who haven't watched that, who are listening, one, go back and watch it in the service. It's definitely definitely worth it. But do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the heart of what they were getting at and what it was like putting those together?
I think, so in talking about, worship shapes us, worship forms us, and that's why it's so important to develop our hearts of worship. And I think for each of them, and why I kind of asked each of them to share their stories in the first place, is because they've all really care about the Bethany community and want to see each person in the Bethany community grow in worship and are serving. Yes, because it's their calling and gift and passion, but because they do have a heart and a passion for the people they're serving. And I would say, everyone does, but there is that, they've all been people who have talked to me about that more recently. Like Janethan has been noticing that we've been growing more in our physical expression of worship, and he's talked about how he's appreciated that, and Ryan, of course, for being part of youth and Sundays for so long. For him, it's just been a huge huge growth opportunity for him, and how much worship has shaped him. And he's been quieter about that. And then to give him the opportunity to actually share what's on his heart. And I would say in the same way that he has looked up so much to some of the older kids that were part of the team, now he has become that for the younger ones that are starting out. And so for him to be able to share that and share that's been on his heart, that he really wants to see people growing in their own gifts and discovering, was just, that was why I asked him. And then Karen is newer to our community, and lots of people have asked me about who she is, because they see that depth of, I think, passion for Jesus, the maturity in her faith, and how that carries when she sings. So it was cool to be able to have her explain a little bit about her own journey in with that too.
Yeah, I think it was cool too to see such recognizable faces up there of people that oftentimes, even as we're in this series, that I think it could be easy to think I know how that worship leader connects with God through worship, right? Or like,
Yeah.
I know how that drummer probably like experiences worship,
Yeah.
but then to see them also talk about these other ways that worship is a part of their lives, I think was a very cool thing for the congregation to see
Yeah.
through those.
Yeah. And we don't often get to hear their stories, right?
Exactly,
And that's
yeah.
something that we talked about in our debrief, that for people who've been around here a while, they've seen Ryan for 12 plus years. They've never heard from him.
No.
And to be able to hear the heart behind the person who plays the drums every week is really cool. So
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Before we keep going today, we want to let you know about some things that are happening in our community that you do not want to miss out on, especially if you are a recent grade 12 grad or a young adult. If you are looking for some fun summer activities, look no further than our Bethany Young Adults group this summer. Although the regular programming has ended, we'll be hosting weekly social events to help you stay connected and to have some fun this summer. First up is the Young Adults Kickoff Pool Party that's happening on Thursday, July 3rd. And if you're a recent grade 12 grad, we would love for you to come so that we can celebrate your accomplishments and welcome you into the Bethany YA family. For more information on our summer kickoff and for the rest of our events, be sure to follow us on Instagram. That's linked in the description below, as well as check out our website. All right, so we got some questions today. I don't think any of these came from the congregation. Yeah, no, these are all off the dome for me. So if they suck, you can tell me. But the first one says, does the emotional high of singing sometimes get mistaken for true worship? How do we tell the difference? We got some because I knew you were coming, we got some specific worshipy questions today.
because Andrew's here, I want to be like, shot not.
It's fine. You can go first, Laura, and then I'll correct any theological errors.
I would use the shot not on the first question.
Oh, they get worse?
Maybe.
Okay, so two-parter. I think how I would, absolutely, we can sometimes kind of get caught up in the, how did you phrase it?
Just like the emotional high.
Yeah, the
right?
emotional high, I think, can absolutely be something that we need to, I'm gonna say guard against, but like God created us to be emotional people, and music and a lot of the ways that we enter into worship are emotional things, and emotional responses, and so that's where I think it's really important for the leaders and the people who are on the teams and the people who are putting the service together, to be really approaching it with the right lens, with the right heart. Beethoven actually said, what comes from the heart in music goes to the heart. And so if we are approaching our musical moments and even preaching, I would say for you, Andrew, with that right heart, then it's up to the Holy Spirit to kind of guide and help people engage on that heart level, that spiritual level. And I think that I think 20 years ago, I'd no emotional high. It's awful. It's manipulation. We have to do everything possible to stay against that, including taking all emotional experience out of worship. But that's not the answer. I think that is one way in which it can allow somebody who wouldn't even know how to be in worship. It can, that emotional response can actually be something that the Spirit uses over time to help guide somebody towards a proper response in worship. And so you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater on that one, and you can't judge where people are at or the length of their journey. And so I think that it can be a tool if used and handled appropriately and properly and with lots of prayer and with the right approach.
Yeah. Because I think I like what you said at the start there too, that we are inherently emotional beings, right? That just because we've said before that emotions are information, right? That just because we feel something doesn't automatically mean that's not valid anymore, that it invalidates that experience. And even I think scientifically they've found that just communal singing will stir something in you, right? But I guess the kind of, I don't know what the right word is to say there, but like, I guess the onus is on us, or the ownership is on us then to focus that, right? To like, or to be kind of responsive to that. I don't know if you, Andrew, have more.
The huge responsibility, I would say.
Yeah, right? Like,
I think the other thing I would say with it too is to not equate that as the purest form of worship. Because truthfully too, like you can't live in that high space. Like we actually aren't like built for that, and that actually isn't how we live. And so to say that only emotional highs are true worship, or to discount it as well, is also, I think, unhealthy. I think we can appreciate it when it's there, but also we can learn that worship is bigger than emotional. It's actually sometimes, like we talked about even in the series, it's like actions, it's like doing things. And sometimes that can come along with an emotional high, and sometimes it doesn't. I think there becomes problems when we start to be searching for that emotional high as the main avenue of connecting with God. And I just don't think that's healthy or realistic, or really quite how we were designed to worship.
Yeah. Why don't we move on to question 2, somewhat connected into that, about just our communal times of worship. What role does genre and cultural expression play in communal worship and how we experience Jesus together?
Laura and I both looked at each other. I will go second. It's fine.
Yeah, so I think both genre and cultural expression should really be relevant to the community that you're serving. So if we're, I would hope that the songs that we're selecting and the style of songs and even some of the cultural aspect to the songs should look different for Niagara than and even Bethany in Niagara compared to other churches and other spaces and other in other parts of North America, certainly, but other parts of the world. Right? Every worship kind of expression, especially if we're talking about songs, should be more specific and planned appropriately to what is going to reach the people that are here. But I also think both have the opportunity to stretch and push us past our comfort zones in being careful with both of those. Being selective and intentional with the songs that you are choosing, it can help stretch and allow somebody to see something from a different perspective. So I know it's gotten a lot better now, I would say, but even there wasn't a lot of selection in the most popular CCLI lists in terms of like pushing into some maybe more gospel-y type songs and, or, I know at times I've been searching for certain kinds of songs that maybe have a little bit more of a justice focus or a serving focus. And so that's pushed us beyond given us a little bit of a challenge. I think of songs that you've introduced, Evan, and now songs that I'm trying to introduce that are maybe not what I would pick or that I listen to in a new style. And I think, how can anybody sing this? Right. But really, it's what is more relevant and the sound of the people coming after me. And they deserve to both be able to serve in that style that they feel the most comfortable with and to hear the songs that they would like to hear. So I'm hearing myself talk to myself 20 years ago with pushing a little bit more in both of those areas. And then I think we have lots of opportunity culturally as well to allow the whole body to be able to shape and grow us and be able to have, styles or instruments even that they have worshipped with in the past to be incorporated in. So they're still trying to figure out how to do that. Right. But there is I am constantly asking that question. So hopefully it's something we'll see more of.
I like that idea too of worship being stretching. I do think that that's important for us, that if we're only ever expressing worship in one kind of cultural context or genre, especially here in the West where we have so many different contexts and cultural expressions, I think was the term you used. I think then worship should be stretching for us, and we should be seeking to have our boundaries of worship maybe pushed a little bit and exploring different things. I think that's actually part of the Bible when it says that everyone will come and worship and bow down to the Lord in every tribe, tongue, and nation, right? That there's this diversity that's there. And so for us to experience it now is important because that's what heaven will also represent and will be.
Yeah, I think that's so good. I'm gonna ask an extra question onto here just because I think it'd be cool to get into some of the behind the scenes stuff a little bit. Like we've talked before about how, yeah, like the idea of including other cultures to create pathways for your congregation, and that, for different cultures within our congregation, right, giving them an opportunity to see themselves reflected in our services, right, is a really important thing. How do you, in your kind of planning and preparing, like there's a difference between kind of having a cultural Sunday and having culture be a part of every Sunday, right? Or having kind of that sort of sensitivity or that lens throughout every kind of plan you do. And the same could be said for like being multi-generational and like integrating generations into our services. How do you try and like, approach it not like this is our hymn this week, or this is our this is our hymn time, but actually something that is like just holistically bringing those different groups in. Yeah.
Oh. I think some of it is like, because it's, some of it you maybe, I don't know how to say it, like that it's hard, right? Because, and even just beyond my own, like, forget stretching me in the body of Christ, like stretching my musicality, right? Because I'm like, I don't know. I learned, like, I have a degree in music, and I learned a little bit about other cultural music practices and theories, but I'm like very much rooted in Western music, and to then how to incorporate different instruments brings, like, you know, some cultures have instruments that don't even have the same kind of semitones as us, and there's the quarter tones, and so then tuning, and then how do you make something, like bring something all together that can still work, and it's absolutely possible, but it does take more work. So I think, I don't know, I would say the biggest thing is just like, I know I'm talking about two different things here, because some of it is just like honest representation, right? It's not about checking a box, but to, like, we want all cultures to feel at home, and part of the worship family and part of the Bethany family. So I think the best way to do that is just treat everybody the way God would. You know, everybody comes with their own gifts and abilities, and they all have value to bring to the team. And so it's just giving honest representation and letting people use their gifts, and then giving permission for people to express in the way that they are comfortable expressing. And that's where I think we do still have some more work to do. Ryan commented in his video from this past weekend that he said that, you know, it was so cool to see everybody there at that worship night worshiping in the way that they wanted to worship, and worship in a way that was comfortable to them. And I would love to see that more often on Sunday mornings too, that people would really feel that they can worship exactly how they would want to worship. And I think not only in the congregation do we have more work to do there, we have more work to do there on the stage as well, so that people can really feel like they're being themselves. And so that is still a work in progress.
That's so good. I mean, as a guy who can sometimes hopefully keep it down on the drums on a Sunday, gospel chops are like 80 times more than that. So, like, I get what you mean, where you're like, I don't know how to play that. Like, that's not what I do.
Like, I know this song is in 6/8, but why can't I?
Why does it feel so bad? Question number 3 says, how do you decide what counts as worship in your daily rhythms?
For me, I guess I would say what counts for worship in my daily rhythms is what draws me closer to God. If it isn't, then I probably wouldn't say that it's worship. It might be needed, it might be necessary in your life, whatever you might be doing, right? But I think it's what draws you closer, and I think that anything does have the possibility of drawing you closer. There was a monk named Brother Lawrence who had a thing called Practicing the Presence of God, and he talked about just experiencing God in and through giving really strong presence as he was even just washing dishes, that you can experience the presence of God in everyday settings. So I think it's anything that really maybe helps you to draw yourself closer to God. And it probably comes back to a framework of your mind and how your posture of your heart and where you're kind of at, that anything can do that. But for me, it's probably around the thing what draws me closer to him.
The word that jumped into my head as you were talking is obedience, right? When we're following after, when we're doing anything, right? Because we've said that's a whole series. It's whatever, whenever, every breath is worship, as long as we're facing the right direction. And I think there's, like, am I gonna, like sitting down and watching a TV show? Absolutely. I can practice the presence of God in that. Sitting down and watching a second one in a row when I should be doing something else, or, making the wrong decision, right? Like, and somebody else, I'm not saying that watching two shows in a row is but you know what I mean? It's like when you're doing something in obedience, and then there's times when I make decisions where I'm like, okay, this probably isn't what God, or drawing me closer to God with the way that you said it. So
I'm just waiting for one of you to have to ask your kids, one of your kids, to do something, and then saying like, oh no, I can't, I'm just worshiping right now. The last question that we have is, how much space should be given to preference in communal spaces, recognizing we are a gathering made up of individuals? This is why I told you not to shot not the first one.
Shot not.
Yes. How much? What?
I'll read it again. How much space should be given, or I guess, how much space should be given to preference in communal spaces, recognizing that we're a gathering made up of individuals?
So I think 0.
You heard it here first, folks.
Because that's that immediately sets the wrong tone and approach, right? Because if we're deciding based on, I think on your other question, if we're like attempting to bring hearts of worship, to bring the right attitude towards worship so that other people are able to engage in, if we are paying attention to a genre and things that fit our culture and who we are here, and then if we're trying to find songs that fit our community and our calling, our unique calling from God, then those are the songs that should be picked, not songs that are based on any one person's preference. And so I think that if you approach it with all of those factors in mind, the whole body and all of those things, then you're going to be making decisions and praying around that call and what God wants to do, what journey does God want for us, like in the big picture of things, but also on that particular Sunday. Then I don't think preference plays much of a factor at all. And I know sometimes when I get comments about song choices and that, I'm like, or if I've got, people on the worship team complaining about having to do that song again, you do need to listen to those things, especially if they're coming up a lot. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not picking these songs because I like them. I'm not, we're not doing this song again because I really love it necessarily. Right. Yeah. Like it's about what I feel God is calling us to for this journey. And so, and then even to say that doesn't mean that we wouldn't do a hymn, but I'm not doing a hymn because somebody really wants a hymn. I'm doing a hymn because it is part of our faith tradition. It fits the service really well. That there's lots of people of all ages that like hymns and still resonate with hymns. And so that would be why I would pick it. So if it's fitting and it's speaking to the congregation, then that's kind of what guides it more. So I think as soon as we start getting into preference discussion, it's the wrong focus and the wrong lens.
Yeah. I'd say too with it, I think we all have our personal preferences and all of that is fine. And then what we're called to do in communal worship is to lay down our personal preferences. That I think that's the posture of our heart. Like we're supposed to have humility and we're supposed to be willing to bend for other people. We're supposed to be willing to put other people's needs ahead of ours. And I think that community functions when everybody says that's my responsibility, is to put other people first. And the same thing comes with worship. If you think that every single song we sing I personally like love and want to, or even every sermon I preach, that
Name
those
names.
would be name names of the songs.
I could name some names.
I almost did earlier.
But I think that's right for me to be putting aside some of my own personal preferences. So even though I might have more influence in some kind of ways, right, because of my role, it still means that when I come, I'm going to put down my personal preferences for what's best for the community together, and that's what I think we all try to do, and that's how I think communal worship functions best.
Yeah. I remember when we first introduced the song New Wine, we did, and whether this was the right call or not, I don't know. But at the time I was like, you know what, to like really get it into the like congregations kind of minds and get them learning it, we did like the full, I think it was like 9 or 10 minute version of it. And like, to be fair, you sing Jesus Bring New Wine Out of Me like a lot during that version. You already do during the normal one.
Yep.
I remember talking to a friend of mine afterwards, and she had just said like, she was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was a good song, but that was so long. And I was just kind of giving her heck, but I'd said like, hey, if Jesus isn't interesting enough to worship for 10 to 11 minutes to you, like that seems like it's on you, not on me. And well, I would never have said that if she wasn't a friend of mine. There is something I think true in there individually for each of us, right? Where like when we're in those moments of worship and preference starts to like take our attention away from the moment and seeks to kind of like distract us, that like that's an opportunity to focus back in, to say like, oh, actually no, this is an opportunity for me to lay down my own preference to focus back in on Jesus.
Yeah. And for that line in particular, as I can think of other songs that we sing the same line more than once, each time, the way that music works too, if you come with an openness to it, you can sink in another layer and sink in another layer and sink in another layer. So again, it's exactly what you're saying. It's your approach.
Yeah. That's a whole other topic to get into. There's like, there's repetition. There's, we won't go that far today.
All the things people like and don't like.
We'll do another special worship pod to get into all those. Before we close up today, I have a game for us to play. Okay. So this is going to be called Love Song or Lord Song. So we have a handful of worship prompts, and I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you the lyric from it, and you're going to tell me whether it's a worship song or if it's a modern love song.
I tried really hard that anything that could be this to not do.
I don't think any of the ones on this list we do.
Okay.
Maybe we used. No, I think we're good. Okay, round one. The first lyric is, I'm desperate for your touch.
Oh. I'm desperate for you. I was for sure is a worship song.
Yeah.
I'm desperate for your touch. I'm going worship.
Worship?
What was the other? Love or worship?
Love or Lord.
Okay. Love or Lord. I'm going to say love for this one.
That one is a Lord song.
Yes.
That is
Which one?
Fire Fall Down by Hillsong United.
Oh.
The next one is There's No One Else I'd Rather Be Next to Forever.
Do you want to go first?
I gotta say this is a love song.
Love song?
Yeah, I'm going love song too.
Love song. Correct. Yes. That is All of Me by John Legend.
Oh, yeah.
Third one, You Stole My Heart Without a Warning.
Oh.
I don't want to say either.
Can we also discuss whether we think they're good lyrics?
Like, this doesn't sound consensual.
You could say like love song, comma, non-theological.
I hesitate. Unfortunately, this is probably a Lord song.
Lord song?
I'm going Lord song too.
This one is a love song.
Oh.
Stolen by Dashboard Confessional.
Oh.
I kind of put that one in just for you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
This next one is You're the Only One Who Could Ever Move Me That Way.
Oh. I'm going with love song, but I think it's the other one. but for the hope that I don't want this to be a theologically
In protest,
Yeah.
you're going
Protest,
love
I'm
song.
going-
Yeah.
This is a love song. Don't worry. It's Only Love by Ben Howard.
Oh.
The next one is You're the Center of My World. I'll argue that this could probably be both. It's probably
I feel like
popped
this
up in
is-
some places,
yeah.
but I do have
Yeah.
a specific quote. So
Probably, I'll say Lord.
I'm going with Lord too.
that would be a Lord song. Jesus at the Center by Israel Houghton.
Okay.
You don't hear him a lot
No.
anymore. I wonder where he went. Is he alive? No,
Yeah.
he's alive. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that your first? I don't know. He's getting up there.
Is he still with Joel? That's the. Anyway,
Oh, probably. Anyways, we'll cut that.
I gotta cut this too.
You're everything I didn't know I needed.
Lord.
I'm going with a love song.
You said Lord? You said love?
Yeah.
That is a love song.
Yeah.
That's Everything by Michael Bublé.
All right. I feel like that was in the latest Elevation rhythm.
Honestly, the funny thing is that every time we've been like, it's probably a love song, I've been like, Elevation probably has done that. Last one, we'll close it off here. Your Love is Wild for Me.
Oh, that's a Lord for
Lord.
sure.
That was the Lord's song. Pieces by Amanda Cook. Very hotly debated theological song coming up, Bethel. So that's a fun one. I don't even know. We never keep track of points, but we'll say you both did great, and you could both choose
Yeah.
a song that we sing this Sunday.
Oh,
Oh, now I get to choose. That's yeah.
all right.
Andrew gets to be top down for him. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, chatting. Thanks for being on the final episode until the fall. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I don't normally wrap up like this because we're going to keep chatting in a minute, but
All right. Well,
Cool.
I'm going to take off. Thanks, guys.
so before we kind of close out, I just wanted to make mention that this is the last episode of this season. So we've been going, except for the week after Easter, we've been going consistently since I think February,
Yeah.
which is crazy. We've seen I think there have been 1,600 full length listens all time throughout the X amount of episodes that we've had. So it's been really fun. And this was really just kind of started on a whim of hey, this could be a good idea. And I think it's been surprisingly fun in a lot of ways to do.
Yeah.
It. Just there have just been some cool things that have come out of it. So I had kind of 3 questions just to end off because apparently all we do is questions and games.
Yeah.
So my first question to you was, what's your favorite topic that we've discussed on the podcast? Which is pretty much just saying what's your favorite sermon that you've preached?
Yeah, what's my favorite sermon that I preached? I don't know if I have a favorite podcast. I've enjoyed them all. I really liked when we were going through all the ones on the 7 deadly sins, and we talked a lot about getting curious and all that. I really enjoyed our ones on worship. Some of the questions were really, really great. Even the one around resilience. I've liked them all, to be honest. I like playing games and I like talking. So this thing seems to work well for us.
Yeah, I think it's been well suited. The sermon series that we've had have been well suited to kind of further discussion and kind of getting into it. I think that was probably my favorite too. Specifically, when we chatted about greed, I think on the pod, that was a really good week. When Sherry came on the pod for Lent, that was really good too.
With pride.
What?
With pride.
With pride.
Yeah.
Sherry came all prideful on the
podcast.
My second question was, what has been the most unexpected thing for you in doing this podcast?
I think the most unexpected thing for me was the depth of some of the questions. Some of them really they were all good, but some of them were these are really nuanced, layered, theologically deep questions that are being asked. And I like ones that make me think, and they all really did. I'm like, oh, I haven't really looked at it from this angle before, or thought about it from this angle before. So yeah, I think that's what most surprised me. What I most kind of enjoyed was going through all that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. I think for me, I've been surprised by the response from some people, just people who have kept up with the podcast. But then also, I've been surprised that every time we get a question from the congregation, it always goes to the top of like the best questions we've gotten. Like no matter how many I've written for this pod, the ones that come from our congregation are always the best ones, and they're the ones that make us go like, "Ooh!" Like me and Laura just like refused to answer one of the spiritual attack questions because we're like, that's way too deep for us. So the third question I had is, as we're breaking for the summer, do you have a challenge for people kind of heading into the summer for anybody who's been listening and tracking with us?
I think I would just challenge you to just keep walking close to God this summer. I think summer is great where you can get sometimes, hopefully, some chances for rest and some rejuvenation and also some different habits and rhythms. And so just keep walking close to God this summer. And then that's really what we're doing for the summer series. We're talking about 1 John. So even if you're missing a week, you can, read the section that we were kind of going to be studying, and you can kind of keep following along. And so, I just challenge you to just, keep close to God as you walk through the summer months with hopefully some rest and rejuvenation in your life.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap for this season of BCC Recap. We've had so much fun doing these podcasts, hearing more from you as the congregation and the questions that you have, and talking about different things that we've been learning as a congregation and just really getting into the weeds. Before you go, please, if you haven't already throughout this season, don't forget to subscribe to the BCC pod so you don't miss an episode. That's also where we upload our sermon audio from the weekends too. So if you subscribe, you'll get updates about when that's available for you to recap as well. And if you're enjoying the podcast, do us a favor and leave a quick review or rating. This is a super simple way to help others find us and be encouraged as well. Thanks again for joining us today and for listening through this season. And we will see you all on Sunday and back here in the fall. See ya.
See ya.